Hello, neighbors. Hello. Today this is me as your congressperson. I also do a Bible study podcast, and it's on at Masika Akilah on YouTube. And I also say neighbors. So I've been saying neighbors for a long time. I also have around this corner, I have a poster of Mr. Rogers because I just love Mr. Rogers. I think everyone does. But I believe that he started saying neighbors as well because of love thy neighbor. He was also a minister and so forth. But the reason I'm here today to talk to you as your future U.S. Congresswoman of Texas District 1. Yay. All right, I have a June 2025 message, and I am going to come on once a month. And I am going to talk to you about some of the things that's going on with the campaign, some things that I see that's going on, and that I would like to share with you that I believe that is very important for you to know. So I'm going to dig in because sometimes I can be chatty. Okay. So also this month, I'm focusing on kindness. That is in my Bible study, but I am focusing on kindness. There's This month is Juneteenth. I have on my Juneteenth shirt. Ooh, you can see. And then it's also Pride Month. And even though I am a Christian, and there's a lot of people who are Christians and they want to try to look down on other people. Now, some people want to look down on the black and brown, and some people want to look down on people because of who they choose to love, and just all of that. You know what that is? That is pride. It is not kind. It is not right. We are supposed to love thy neighbor as thyself. And that is a big part of not only a big part of my campaign, but it's a big part of who I am. I know that people do get tired of me talking about God, those who are atheists and all of that jazz, but I cannot compartmentalize who I am. I am a disciple of Christ first. And then second, I want to be a representative for you in Texas District 1, okay? What does that mean? That means that I am going to serve you. I'm going to be faithful to you. I am going to do my best to do what is good and what is right for the people. I love the poor. I love the widows. I love the orphans. I love everyone. And I am supposed to love everyone as myself. I do talk about pride a lot, and I have been studying humility. I do have books and different things like that and all that, but more than my book, of course the Bible, but humility. This is something that I've been studying humility strongly for about 3 years. So I just want you to know that I am very, very serious about who I am. Like it or not, that's who I am. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to try to pressure you into doing anything that you don't want to do. But I just want to know that I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And you can't do nothing about it. Okay? You can't do anything about it. All right. So that's what I want to say about kindness. I'm loving everyone. And I don't care if someone is thinking, well, you shouldn't. No, I should. And I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to love. Okay? And I'm supposed to be kind. All right. Let's talk about interviews. Okay? In my interviews, and I hope you saw, and I'm a radical. I'm not a, I am an introvert, I will say that, but now I'm coming out of my shell for a good reason. And I know that you probably saw the video that I did put out there, and it is tied to my book, I Am Summoned to Testify. I also have a court case. Now, I want you to know that I am not against the police. The police and the government and all of that, God went on and established those things, but man made it corrupt. Okay. And just like with the police and just like with every person and people in our family, there are good people and there are bad people. Okay. Now, I had an experience with some bad people. I also had an experience with a bad preacher. I want you to go ahead and give you a real snippet of the backstory. I was building my second house after my husband had passed, and he passed 2 days before our daughter's 5th birthday. Now, I used to work at Halliburton, and I knew this preacher, and he's also a contractor. So because I was going through a hard time, I thought that I could trust that preacher. And well, make a long story short, when in building our second house, he stole a lot of our money. I ended up having to use all of my savings to complete that house. And because of all the bad things that happened in building that house and all that, we didn't want to stay there anymore. So we went on and sold it, and we lived in an apartment for a while. And my children had never really been in an apartment. They had always been in a house. And in the apartment that we were in, it did not have a playground and all of that. And after my credit and all that, I had to keep explaining what happened with house number 2. So finally it got to a point to where I was able to go ahead and get the third house, the house that I'm in now. And I had to explain over and over and over, and I was denied. I mean, not denied, excuse me. I was delayed. Okay, so just because you are delayed, something does not mean that you're not going to receive the blessing. Okay, so I was delayed 3 times, and I'm a softball all-star girl. So 3 times that made me feel like that I wasn't going to get it. So I thought that's 3 strikes, you're out. But so I had a nervous breakdown. We all are going to have those times when life just seems too hard. And even though I had faith, but I was bitter because of what happened with the preacher contractor, and I was very bitter, and I was very tired, and I was doing it on my own as a single mother with children. And I felt like if my husband was still alive, that stuff would not have happened to me and all of that. You know how we do. But so I expect my daughter for something, and she called 911, and then also the neighbor called 911, and as you could see, I had a towel on, and I was outside trying to bring the valet trash in. And then the police came and they startled me, and all of that. They did not tell me, why they was there and all of that. And I had a towel on, and they were approaching me, and I was telling them to get back, and all of that. And they knocked me up against the wall, and there was some things that you did not see where my C-section, they had beat me in the head, did punch me and all that kind of stuff. My C-section was torn apart, stomped my foot. I was bleeding and all of that. A lot of this, some of it was caught on my Ring camera. The police asked my then 10-year-old daughter for my password to my phone because you could hear one of the police officers was talking about my Ring cameras. Well, they got the password, and they saw some of the videos and all of that, and I was in jail for 10 days. Had really never been in any kind of trouble. Highly educated, always volunteered in the community. I was even a CASA. And a CASA is a person who helps people who are the foster kids and so forth. You are an appointed person to help them, court appointed person to help them, and so forth. So they put me in jail for 10 days. My brother and my realtor tried to get me out of jail, and they were not able to get me out of jail because the police wanted to keep me, the sheriff's department and police department working together, however, wanted to keep me in there, I believe because of what was on my Ring videos. And I prayed. They did try to kill me while I was in jail. A lot of different things happened, and I asked the Lord to confuse the enemy and spare my life. And I did a lot of praying in there. Ironically, while I was in jail, and there's that bad picture, while I was in jail, I witnessed to people. I witnessed to them about Christ. This was the first time ever in my life that I had brought people, witnessed to people, and they had accepted Jesus because I witnessed to them. This was the very first time I had ever done that in my life. So what the devil meant for bad, God meant for good. Okay? Even though this was one of the worst times, it was also one of the best times that happened in my life. Why? Because I knew going in whose I was. I had always been a child of God's. I had always studied and, grown up in a church and all of that kind of stuff. But I knew whose I was But when I got out, I learned who I was. I learned that I was strong. I learned that he who was in me is greater than he who was in the world. So I learned all of those things, and I learned that I was stronger than I thought I was, and so forth. But if it had not been for this nurse and some other people who really took a liking to me, and some people protected me while I was in there, while others was trying to harm me. But it was this nurse that when they were trying to hurt me again, this nurse said, Miss Ray, what's going on? I said, they're trying to hurt me again, and I'm just going to stand here, and whatever they're going to do is going to do, and I was tired, but I was still brave. I wasn't afraid. I had no fear. With all that would happen, I had no fear. And the nurse said, I'll be right back. And she came back, and she brought a guard with her, and they said, where's your stuff? And then they had me in between them. The lady, I was about to get some of my stuff, and the guard said, no, ma'am, I'm going to get it for you. They led me up to the front, and the nurse told the other guard, whomever Miss Ray wants to let her call, and let her make as many phone calls as she need to get out of here. Woo! That's favor. Oh my God, that is favor. And I called, and I'm telling you, and not long after that, I got out of there. And I do have a lot of the story in here. I talk about spiritual warfare. I talk about, a lot of different things. And I'm an artist. I've always been an artist. I have different books, other books. This book right here, Wausos Emet Truth. Emet means truth in Hebrew. Okay. So I've been writing Christian books for a long time. Like I said, my walk with the Lord, that was in 2011 is when I wrote it. 2012 is when I published it and then republished it in 2013. But I'm an artist. So a lot of times when people think, oh, this is going to hurt her, no, I'm an artist. What do artists do? They make things that are ugly into beautiful. I'm a masterpiece. You are a masterpiece. You are, even if you don't believe, you are God's masterpiece, okay? And I know you're thinking, the ones who are atheists and all that, she's talking about God again, all this. But I'm going to try to hurry up, okay? But you are a masterpiece, whether you believe or not, okay? But eventually, I want you to know whose you are and who you are, okay? Because you are a beautiful person. You are loved. We all have things that happen to us. And what is beautiful, some of the worst things that happen to you, like Joyce Meyer, for example, she was molested by her father. And she keeps talking about it because that is her testimony. What happened to me, that's my testimony. That is what made me strong. That is why I am able to fight for you like I fought for my family. And you will see how CPS tried to do dirty tricks and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm telling you, I fought and fought and fought. And I had an attorney, and I had to fire the attorney, and I had to represent myself, okay? Because let me tell you, I could just go on and on and on. So anyway, I'm gonna try to make it short. But I'm not going to stop telling my testimony. In every interview I do, I am going to demand that I tell my testimony. In every interview I do, I am going to make sure that it is wise and not foolish. Recently, I did an interview, and the guys that I did the interview with, they were really, really nice. And in 2025, right now, I'm doing my introduction to the people, letting the people who know who I am, what I'm about, understand my fruit. I also have this book here, about the fruit of the Spirit, and I'm making a garden. Okay, there's prophecy in here. The Lord has told me things that you already should know that there's going to be a famine in the land. So we need to get prepared for that. Okay, but what I was going to say is that I did this interview, and the guys were really sweet. I believe it was a good interview, but there was this little black journalist, and he was in there, and he was in the comments saying all these little bad things, and saying, well, I'm not sold yet. And he was telling them to ask me questions because they work with him and all of that. And he was telling them to ask me questions that are state and local questions. I'm running for a national seat, a congressional seat. But I still answered those questions. Like one of them was about rural hospitals and so forth. Regardless of if I am in Congress or not, you are my neighbor. So I'm going to fight with you on the home front. I'm going to fight for you in Washington. I'm going to fight for you in all 17 counties. You know, I'm not shy. I am shy. But when it comes to things that I believe in and all that kind of stuff, I got some fight in me. I'm not a pushover. And I think that little journalist who was just trying to throw all this, it was almost like he was the devil whispering in their ears, say this, say that, do this. I'm going to put salt in her game and all of that other kind of stuff. Boy, let me tell you, not only am I a Christian, I'm a tough one. Okay? Okay? So you want to watch yourself. You want to watch yourself. Okay? All right? Now, all of my interviews, like I said, I'm not going to deal with no foolishness. There's something called self-control. Self-control. Let me read you what self-control says. Whoever has no rule over his own spirit is like a city broken down without walls. That means that you lack self-control. All right? I get my discernment from on high. I am going to fight for the people with what he tells me. I am being guided. Okay? I am being guided, and I am going to fight for the people because I love the people, and I'm going to do what is pleasing and right and good, and I have a lot of good fight in me because I'm not fighting by myself. He who is in me is greater than he who is in the world. Okay? Now, I have some wisdom in this 51-year-old woman. There's some wisdom here. That little boy, he may have been barely 30. Let me tell you something. You keep living. You keep living. Because patience, you need to have patience. You need to understand the answers that I gave was with love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Now, anybody who want to interview me, if you want to come with some foolishness, we're going to stop that interview right now. We're going to stop it with the quickness. Because I am not going to be dealing with foolishness. We have a lot of foolishness going on today in the United States. And you have people who don't know how to discern right from wrong. I do. I already know why. I'm telling you, I said in that interview that I want to have it to where we are giving people $1,000 a month. That's all over the United States. That's not just in Texas District 1. Because I'm not talking about, I cannot only talk about the local and the state. I have to talk about Congress, the national, all 50 states, okay? So in all 50 states, I am hoping that we can get $1,000 once a month. I mean, not once a month, but in March. So it'll help with gardening. It'll help with fishing. It'll help with hunting. It will help all those things so we can sustain. We also need to do some self-reliance. We already see that the government is not what it used to be. I'm saying this, what's today, June? It's June 2025. By June 2026, we don't know what's going on because it's changing every day, like the wind blows. Like a shaft which the wind drives away. You don't know what's going on from day to day. So you have to have wisdom and you have to have discernment, and that surpasses intelligence. Yes, I have a master's of education. Yes, I know how to study. Yes, I was an HR director before I was a teacher. I know how to manage. There's a lot of things I know how to do, and I'm not tooting my own horn. But what qualified me for this position was this situation right here, little boy. This situation right here is what equipped me to know that the people are hurting, that the people are not receiving due process, because they had no reason to hold me in there for 10 days. So that due process situation didn't just happen. It's been going on. So in order for me to know what was going on firsthand, I had to go through it. And when you go through something and you come out stronger, you know how to fight, little boy. Now, the old Masika would have told you something. But the new Masika told you that just like Moses, just like Joseph, just like David, just like Gideon, you might want to look them up. They wasn't equipped. They wasn't polished politicians either. I'm not a polished politician, but I bring the fire. And I don't have time for no foolishness. Now, what else was I going to talk about? All right. So in my testimony, I'm going to make sure that my interviews, I talked about kindness, my interviews, I'm going to talk about my testimony. I am going to talk about wisdom, things that are wise and things that are good, and plans that I have for the future for the United States and for Texas District 1, my beloved East Texans. I'm going to talk about self-control. I'm going to have self-control, because once they start with that foolishness, we're going to stop that interview right there. And I'm going to keep it moving. Now, I am going to all 17 counties. I'm going to have a Multicultural Fellowship Festival, okay? Because we are all fighting as one. We are all fighting as one. There's no more this person, that person. No, when we come, we're going to come with a beautiful rainbow. And we're going to come as one. And we're going to fight. And we're going to fellowship. And we're going to love on each other. We're going to have entertainment, all different type of entertainment. We're going to have all different kind of food. We're going to meet some friends. We're going to fellowship. And we're going to pray. We're going to pray. And those of you who don't want to pray, you can close your ears and close your eyes. But I'm telling you, I am coming and I'm fighting with everything that I have in this little 5'2" body. And that's how I know how to fight. Now, I wanted to go ahead and give you this message. I'm going to go ahead and close it up right now. But we are planning to start kicking off our Multicultural Fellowship Festival. And it's also a fundraiser. And I'm hoping that I can get some sponsors and everything, because I am getting ready to loan my campaign some money. I do need your donations. That's another thing. I always forget about that. I do need your donations. And here's my card, but on the back of it, you can go ahead and freeze that. And there's my QR code there. And I do ask that you support me, okay? Because I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to fight for everyone. I am. I'm going to fight for everyone. I hope you pick up my story. If you want to know more about me, it's in there. Okay? I'm not no shucking and jiving. I'm going to tell you the truth, whether you like it or not. When it comes to when I get in there, I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm going to tell you what we need to do. I'm getting my orders from on high. I'm praying for myself, for my family, and I'm praying for you. I just want you to know that, okay? I love you, East Texas. I love you. I love you the most, more than the rest of the country. I was born in Mount Vernon, Texas. I've been back and forth in Longview. I graduated in Mount Pleasant, Texas. I've worked in Dangerfield. I've worked in Longview. I worked in Tyler. I've worked in Gladewater as an HR director in different places. Kilgore as an HR in HR. I love you. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I love you. Let's fight together. Let's fight together. All right? Love you. Bye-bye.